All right, so a key part of writing in college is writing academically. So you might have heard this term before about academic writing and writing academically. So now we're going to talk about what are the characteristics of that? How do you do that? How do you need to be thinking to even write something that is considered an academic piece? So let's look at this. All right, so the different things that we're going to talk about are what is academic writing, what you're expected to do just in general, what college instructors expect of you with academic writing, and what are the characteristics. So, what things do you need to make sure you're doing as you are writing your papers? So, academic writing, it's like learning a new language. It really is. It is not how you speak, usually, probably not in text messages or emails or just in normal conversation. It is much more formal. So, academic writing. So, it's writing. What is it? So, it's writing that you do for school. It has a strict set of conventions. So it's there are strict rules around how to write things. It is commonly used in newspapers and books, journals, etc. And it's a pretty broad category, academic writing, but it is flexible enough that all the different rules for the different disciplines or subjects, that they can all fit in there and be categorized under academic writing. So, expectations. So, these are expectations that your professors have of you coming into a college writing course, or just actually in general for any college course. These are things that your professors expect for you to do. So, let's look at those. So, first, respond. You're going to be expected to be a part of the active reading and writing process. Earlier in the semester, we talked about being an active reader and being engaged in your reader. Be an engaged reader, you're also going to be an active reader and engaged in your writing. So as you are processing the things that you are reading, in turn, you're also going to be processing them and channeling those thoughts and analyses and all of that in your head into your writing. Second, you are going to ask questions. So you are responsible for your own learning, but you're not over here all by yourself and just figure it out, sink or swim kind of thing. That's not how we roll in education. So if you have questions, ask them. That is what my job is. That is what your other professor's job is to answer your questions. Speak your mind. So students, typically, when you're younger and all of that, your thoughts and opinions and all of that come from your parents or your friends or whatever, from people around you. So you just kind of mirror a lot of those. And about the time, part of being in college is learning how to think by yourself and not just mimicking what other people say and do and all of that. So, and a lot of that comes from conversations with your peers or with instructors. So you start going from mimicking what you were always told or thought, or just relying on what other people said, basically. And then you start thinking and analyzing those things on your own and not just mirroring. Focus. So when you start writing, you need to focus on your topic throughout your writing. So directly when you write your introduction, you tell exactly what you're going to talk about with your thesis statement. And you use that thesis statement as just like a thread going through the full paper all the way to the conclusion. And that thread ties the whole paper together. And lastly, state your point. So be direct with your statements. Lead the readers step by step through the text. You don't want them, thinking, well, don't drop hints everywhere. Just say it how it is. Just be as direct as you can be. So the characteristics of academic writing. So these are the things that you need to use when you are writing to say, okay, this is academic writing. Or if I say, oh, that's not academic writing, then you'll know exactly what it is that I'm talking about. So the characteristics are these, and I'll go through and then explain a little bit about each of them. So use standard English, use clear, recognizable patterns of organization, mark logical relationships between ideas, state claims explicitly and provide appropriate support, present your ideas as a response to others, express ideas clearly and directly, be aware of how genres and conventions vary across disciplines, and document sources using the appropriate citation style. So now we're going to go through and talk about each of those to understand a little bit more about what they mean. So using standard edited English. So that means your writing is going to be more formal. You're not going to use abbreviations or slang. It's not going to be like if you were like texting your friends or sending an email or anything like that. It's not like that at all. It is a much higher level of writing and communicating. You're going to avoid abbreviations, and no, BRB or anything like that. No emojis. I have got that before. It's a long time ago, but don't do that. Just no. And avoid contractions. Don't say no they'll or will or can't or anything like that. So no contractions, just spell out the full words. And also just using standard English makes that is more about how well-educated people speak and how they communicate. So as you are using that, then that also kind of marks you and flags you as being well-educated because you are communicating at that level as well. So using clear, recognizable patterns of organization. So if your paper is organized, it makes it so much easier to follow. So if you talk about like one thing here and then something else later, and then, oh, wait, go back to that first point, and it's very confusing. So don't do that. Your thesis statement. So it states the main point and it tells how the text is structured. My favorite thesis statement style is where you've the 3-point enumeration. So where you have your statement and then you list the 3 things or the 3 like main topics that you will discuss in your body paragraphs. That's just my personal preference. There are other styles and that they are fine. Some are better than others depending on what your topic is. I just enjoy that one just because it's kind of like a map, and it just keeps the reader and the writer on track. It tells the reader, oh, these are the 3 things I'm going to talk about to back up what my topic is and what my claim is and all of that. Another part of the organization that readers automatically expect is a topic sentence for the paragraph. It's at the start of the paragraph. They know, oh, hey, that's a topic sentence, and that's going to tell me what the rest of this paragraph is about. And so just keep in mind, these are standard ways of organizing just for academic writing. Some of it's just kind of standard across the board, but as an academic piece of writing, you know that there should be a thesis statement and that each paragraph should be about one topic, and the topic sentence tells what that topic is. Next one is organization. The reader expects the paper to be organized in such a way that it follows some sort of logical progression. So depending on what the topic is, what your information is, that will be varied, but it could be like going from simple to complex ideas, or starting with weak claims and then progressing to stronger claims, or it could be a chronological progression. So as long as there is some kind of rhyme or reason, some kind of logical progression, then that is really what I'm talking about there. Transitions. These go between sections and ideas. Those are words like first and next and finally, those kinds of words. So those are things that a reader expects to tell sequence and to tell some kind of organization. And lastly, the conclusion. So a reader always expects to have a conclusion. So you conclude your text, or you conclude your text and you're reminding your readers of the main points that you hit on. So I like to think of your conclusion as basically being the same thing as your intro. You just kind of jumble it up a different way and then give it back, because it's still going to have your thesis statement, but that just reworded. It's going to have the same components. You're just going to, it's kind of like putting a smoothie in a blender. It's all you put the, the berries and the like strawberries and blueberries and banana and yogurt and icing, put them all in there. And then that's the smoothie maker. And then you've got your smoothie. So it's the same ingredients, just it's whatever up to, mixed up differently and all that kind of stuff. So same ingredients, it just looks different. The consistency is different. It's the same thing with the intro and conclusion. So mark logical relationships between ideas. So that means using transitions like therefore, however, or in addition to. So those kinds of words show that there are relationships between some ideas or whatever, or words or whatever you are writing about. Also, it helps the reader understand the logic of your argument by including words like that. And by showing the logical relationship, it helps the reader understand it more. So next is state claims explicitly and provide appropriate support. So I mentioned this earlier too. So you just have to, academic writing across the board is you just state it how it is. So that starts with presenting claims and support them with evidence. And then state your opinion clearly in the thesis. So you don't want your reader being like, so what was their thesis? They're being so vague. Just say it how it is. The next is qualify your statements using words like frequently, often, generally, or sometimes, or rarely. Those show how strong the claim is that you're trying to make. Choose evidence your audience will trust. We were also talking about evidence this week. So choose solid, good evidence. Also consider multiple perspectives. So think about the counter arguments. Okay, so you're talking about, COVID and needing a vaccine, something like that. And then you're thinking ahead and think about it right now. What are people going to say if you hear something about COVID and vaccines? People are going to ask questions about how many people has it been tested on? What's the efficacy? Like how effective is the vaccine? Lots of different questions. So just like this, you should think ahead of what someone might come back and say. Then you also need to organize your information strategically. So just think about where information should fit best. And part of that is going in with your outline, figuring out your organization. And then lastly, resist using anecdotes. They can be kind of campy, but they also kind of lower the formality of your paper. So just avoid those. The next is present ideas as a response to others. So provide support for your claims by using synthesis. So synthesis is where you're weaving the ideas or words together of others into your argument. So you've done all this research, and so you're pulling all these different things, and then you're using all of those together and kind of melding them. And that's considered a synthesis. And expressing ideas clearly and directly. So be direct and concise with your words. Same thing as I said earlier, just make sure you are just clear and to the point. If you're not clear, then your reader will be kind of in the fog trying to figure out what exactly it is that you're wanting them to see or know or understand. Be aware of how genres and conventions vary across the disciplines. So disciplines meaning like subjects and stuff. So there's a term called writing across the disciplines, and writing is not just for an English class. It's not just for composition. You can write in obviously in a literature class. You can write in a math class. The teacher might be like, hey, write a paper on the Pythagorean theorem. You can write in a science class. You can write in an engineering class, in nursing, in geology, any of those things. So, but the way you write and the vernacular, the words that you use, and maybe just like the standards of what's considered acceptable format, blah, 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 all of that can vary depending on the discipline. So always keep that in mind, especially as you progress later on in your higher education, that some of those things might need to be tweaked a little bit. And document your sources using the appropriate citation style. So document all your sources. And my kind of good rule of thumb, so you don't create more work for yourself, is when you are doing your research part, go ahead and write down your sources then, or go ahead and make your citation, or put it all on the works cited page already. Because if you're like, oh, I'll do it later, when you go to write your rough draft, then you'll have to go back through and find all those sources again. And it's a pain in the butt, and it wastes a whole bunch of time. So just do it while you're already in that book or on that website or whatever. And there is the reference for the information on this video.